Wonderful. We have Lou Allan on the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for making the time and welcome to the SPRTER Podcast. Let me introduce you to our audience. So Lou has played for the USA Junior Softball National Team, won gold medal in 2017, started her collegiate career at Michigan, played there for 4 years and won a Big Ten Conference Championship in 2019 and was also named the All Big Ten First Team in 2021. She also named the NFCA All Great Lakes Region First Team in 2021. Recently graduated, if I've seen that correctly as well. Congratulations. And I'm excited to have you on the show and talk a little bit more about your career, softball, and future plans.
Yeah, for sure.
So also before we get started, I want to mention Lou's experience store on the SPRTER app. So anyone wanting to connect further with Lou, there are plenty of great experiences that she offers, from ranging from a personal Zoom call all the way to a day in the life of a game film review and a virtual tour. So it sounds really cool and exciting. Head over to the SPRTER app and check out her experience store as well. But let's dive into it. Walk me back on how you developed a love for softball.
Wow. That definitely started when I was a little girl. My grandma played softball, and when I was first born, she was already in her second Olympics at the time. So she played in the 96 and 2000 Olympics and played at UCLA. So she kind of started out with started my love for the sport. I started playing at a very young age. She became my coach and, basically my everything ever since I was a little girl. So just the fact that she was around all the time, it was just, I don't know, that's kind of where the love started, and it has continued ever since then, and I wouldn't change it for anything. So
that's awesome, having that much talent in the family and having a coach like that who's played at that level. That's invaluable for anyone. I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
Now, when you play baseball, how do you feel? As in, most people that play a sport, it makes them excited. But what is it about softball, baseball? What is it about, hitting a ball really hard and very precisely that makes you excited and light up?
I would just say the competition. I am a very competitive person at heart. So getting to play a sport is just, in general, just playing a sport is very fun for me. I would say in general, the way that I feel playing the sport is just a passion and a deep, burning love. Softball has always been something that's very important to me and a part of my journey. And, when I hit the ball hard or I hit a home run or something like that, you just get overwhelmed with emotions and just super excited, happy. I mean, I can go on. There's a huge list of the things that you feel in those moments. But I think that it boils down to just the pure love for the sport and the passion to want to keep playing. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. Now, when you played at a really high level, and I assume still playing or very recently played at a very high level, at what point did you realize that you have a special talent? It was like, hey, I'm actually better than most other people in this sport.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe around 12, 13 years old, I would say. That's when my career kind of really took off, and I started playing for some really competitive travel ball teams out in California. I was told from a very young age, I hit my first home run when I was 10 years old, and everyone was like, there's no way, you're not going big. So I think that's kind of where 12, 13 is where it started. That's when I moved into the Firecracker organization, started playing for some really big teams out in California, and that gave me kind of that upper hand. I would say that being a part of the Firecrackers really upped my level of play and upped my softball IQ. And I think that kind of took me to that next level of being able to play at such a high level and be successful at that high level, because that is also something that is, difficult to do, is going into a big program, a Power 5 program, and doing the things that I did. So just being able to look back on my journey, it definitely comes from just that softball IQ, talking to my grandma all the time about sports, talking to her about softball, talking to her about, if this play happens, what does this do? Talking about the rules of the game and understanding, if the ball hits, in fair territory, but goes foul past the base, like, if it's going fair past the base, it's a fair ball. But, if it's hitting, fair and then goes foul, like it's foul. So, just understanding the little things and being able to really engulf myself into the sport and learn about it from different perspectives. I think that really gave me my upper hand.
And I must say, you're someone who's not from the US, now based in the US, but someone who didn't grow up with baseball. There's so many confusing rules, whether it's baseball, softball, so many confusing rules
Yes.
about the sport. And I was like, why are they doing this? How is that now a run? How is that now a walk? What are you doing? And I can imagine that having that from grandmas, like as an expert in the family, like that's going to be really beneficial for some strategy there as well. I can imagine that. Now, yeah. You were recruited. I would assume you played for Michigan. Can you talk me through that recruitment process?
Yeah, so I got recruited at a very young age. I was about 14 when I started getting offers from schools. I had, when I was a freshman in high school, I went to I went to like 5 different schools it was called an unofficial visit. So I went to 5 different schools, visited, went to camps or whatever. My grandma was the one that I brought along on all of those trips. And honestly, it's crazy to look back now and think like I was 14 making a decision about, the rest of my life at that point. But it was crazy because I didn't even think that, at 14 years old, I knew what I was doing, but, yeah. Somebody saw something in me. And so I saved Michigan to my last visit that year. And after my visit, I took about, I think it was like a month to sit back and kind of write down the pros and cons, figure out who, is going to offer me, the money that I need to go to school, who is going to offer me the best experience, who's going to offer me, where I want to be and how I feel playing the sport, and just understanding that this is a big decision and it's a decision for the rest of my life. And so I really had to sit down with my family and talk about it and figure it out. And at the end of the day, I chose Michigan, and, that's where I spent for my 4 years. And it was a ride. I definitely grew a lot. So
now, when you mentioned you made a list, did you in the end make the decision based on that list, or did you say, you know what, Michigan just feels right?
I think it was a little bit of both.
Okay.
So there was definitely a feeling when I landed in Michigan. Everyone said that when I get to the school that I'm supposed to be at, I'm going to feel something different that I've never felt before. So I did have that feeling when I went there in the beginning, and being able to come home and write out that pros and cons list of, what I want in my college career. I think it just solidified that feeling. It wasn't necessarily, one or the other. I think both of them together kind of solidified that for me, so that I felt like I was making the right decision.
Okay, because I've made lists for certain decisions in the past, in the end, and I'm like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to go with what my feeling says. But I think it's such a big decision for college, and as you said, it's the rest of the life. So it makes a lot of sense to actually make a really educated decision. Now, you also mentioned it was a ride at Michigan. Can you take us through that ride a little bit?
Oh, wow. Yeah. There were many ups and downs. Being from California, I'm all the way on the West Coast. I go to a school at 18 years old, all the way across the country. Very cold climate, most months out of the year. And I mean, getting to go to a big Power 5 university was just an experience in itself. I think a lot of people, they go to college and they play, but to be able to go to college and be a player that is looked at as someone that is going to make an impact. There were a lot of expectations coming in, and my first 2 years that I spent there, I was actually hurt. So I got hurt my freshman year, about 2 weeks before season started. I dislocated my knee for about the 7th time. And so I was out for a couple months rehabbing, trying to get everything back to normal, back to playing capacity. I ended up coming back the second half of that season and earned my role as a DP. Did what I could for the team, and we did pretty well. And then sophomore year, it was actually the summer before sophomore year. Right at the beginning of sophomore year, something like that. And I dislocated my knee again and ended up needing to get surgery. So I ended up being out for about 6 to 7 months with that injury. And so that was a difficult time to go through, but I think I definitely grew from it. It definitely made me who I am today in terms of resilience and adversity and all of those different things. It definitely pushed me to be better. And then junior year, that's when COVID hit. So COVID took away the second half of my season. So this was the first time I was going to get to play a full year. And I had a starting position. Everything was going great. And then COVID hit. So didn't get to play that season. So basically my one and only full season at Michigan was my senior year. I did everything that I thought I was going to do that year. I played really well, and the team played really well. So I think at the end of the day, my journey was definitely not like most, but I learned a lot, and I came out of it stronger. And I just, spent my last year at Liberty University for, my final year playing collegiate softball, which is now over, but I wouldn't trade any. At the end of the day, I can't say that I regret a single thing. I mean, it's made me who I am today. So
that seems like a lot of ups and downs. And then during that second year, did you sometimes think about, what, screw it, I'm done with playing? And how did you overcome that, as you talked about adversity and the resilience?
Yeah, so I thought about that a lot. That was a big thing that I was struggling with. Should I just continue? Should I just medically retire? What was the best decision here? And at the end of the day, I loved the sport way too much to leave it. And I knew that if I did leave, that I would miss it. I would regret it. I didn't feel like I was done with my softball career. The bigger thing that I thought about was I wasn't going to let something or someone take away the game from me. If I'm going to leave, I'm going to leave on my own terms. So nice. That's kind of the conclusion that I came to.
So strong, independent woman. We like a strong, independent athletes, which is awesome. Not letting circumstances make decisions for you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fantastic. Now, you've played softball for quite a while now. How do you see, has it changed, particularly with the change of, I guess, the status of women's sport in the United States as of recent? Do you see any change in softball?
I definitely think that softball is getting a lot more traction than when I had originally started playing. The sport was definitely a little bit more under the radar. But as I was up and coming through high school, up and coming through college, you realize that you're having millions of people watch your games on TV, and there's record-breaking views in the College World Series and things like that. So I definitely think that we're moving in the right direction. I think that there's a lot of work to be done in terms of creating that equality between men and women. But at the end of the day, it does have to come from a fan base, and it does have to come from people actually going out and watching the sport. And that's the hardest part about professional sports as well. With professional baseball has been around for hundreds of years, and you can't compare a sport that has been around for not as long to a sport that's been here since it's America's pastime. So at the end of the day, you have to just continue working hard and continue fighting for your rights. And I think that, like I said, we're definitely moving in the right direction. But there's still a lot of work to be done, and I hope that people like me and people like my teammates and people that are in the World Series can really sit back and continue the fight and continue working hard to get that equality for the younger generations.
Yeah, that's I fully agree, and hopefully there's more and more people providing and supporting. Now, this will actually lead and transitions possibly, doesn't have to, but possibly transitions really nicely into a segment that we called Break the Rules. And Break the Rules will ask you to change one rule in softball that would make softball better.
Oh, gotta think about this one.
And better could be anything. Could be better for the fans, better for the player, better for TV, anything.
I'm trying to think of all the rules that I don't know. Okay, maybe for me, this is going to be a personal rule.
Oh, we like that.
So a personal rule break, I would say allowing there to be more runners that are allowed to like run for people, because as someone that was hurt for 2 years and someone that is also not very fast, to be able to better my team, like I would want, the person that can come in and run for me to be able to do that multiple times a game rather than just only be able to do it once a game and then you're kind of stuck. So like when I was hurt, I could only hit once a game because they would have to put somebody in to run for me. Mm-hmm. So being able to allow that scenario to happen for other people that are hurt and other players that are kind of like me that went down that same path, I think it would be beneficial in the end, honestly. And the girls that are runners will get more playing time, and the girls that are hurt or slow, we can use their bats because their bats are probably pretty good, and then you can put you can put somebody fast in and help us score runs. So I feel like that would just honestly just help create a better way to score runs and a better way to use all of your assets on a team.
And that's very inclusive. So it's not just personal about you, but I mean, your lived experience leads to that, as in it would be really beneficial for more people that are, whether they're injured or starting to recover. I think that's a great rule change. And it gets more people playing time, which is great as well. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Now, we do have a segment that we call a Pro Advice. And at Pro Advice, we asked some of our readers, our followers, to ask questions to pass on to you. So the first question of Pro Advice is, I recently started playing my college softball team after playing for 4 years in high school. What is the biggest difference between playing college and high school for you, and how did you adjust to that next level?
So I would say there's a lot more self-accountability. There's a lot more of, you can make excuses and not go to workouts or not do things that not go extra to the field and hit extra or field extra. There are so many ways that you can make excuses not to do that. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you get better and get you to the highest level of playing. I think in high school, you're a little bit more on a regiment, and like you have your parents that are going to take you to places. You have school ball after school every day. It's not like you can just leave or do something like that. Like in college, you're really on your own. It's your own self accountability to be able to talk to your teammates. Hey, can you throw to me today? Hey, can we hit ground balls today? And I think that is the biggest thing that's going to take your game to the next level, and it's something that is definitely different going from being a 17-year-old high school player to now an adult college player that has to do things on their own at that point.
I totally agree in terms of that autonomy and independence, as in, do you really want it? And if you really want it, you probably need someone to practice, and you need to sometimes bug people like, yo, we said we're gonna throw, or we said we're gonna hit. So exactly. I can appreciate that. Now, as part of your supporter profile, you mentioned that you care about specific causes, and particularly gender equity, body positivity, and first responders. Can you elaborate a little bit on where that care comes from and why you care about these type of causes?
Yeah, so the gender equity comes just, being a female in sports. That is something that is very important to me. Just in the workplace and in sports, it's taught me a lot about the female versus male discrepancies, I guess. There's been a lot of research papers that I've written on it throughout my college career, and something that I took a lot of interest in and understanding all the way back from understanding, the Title IX to now what can we do to continue pushing for that equality. In terms of body positivity, throughout my career, I got a lot of backlash about being a bigger girl that was playing sports. I'm not the stereotypical softball player body type. And I think that you don't have to be that, as an athlete, as a softball player, like my job is to hit home runs. So if I'm going to be hitting home runs, I'm not going to have the stereotypical body. Like I'm going to use what God gave me and be able to use that in a positive aspect and show people that, hey, you don't have to look a certain way to play a college sport. It's not something that needs to happen in order for you to be successful. Like I was a very successful player for 5 years, and I didn't change the way that I looked. I got bigger. I went into the weight room. I worked out. I did what I needed to do, and everybody's body is different. And I think that is something that needs to be portrayed across all sports, because men and women both face a lot of body ridicule from their fans, from just people around, watching sports and things like that. So that is something that is very near and dear, close to my heart, that I feel is something that, I like to speak out about. I also think that with the first responder side of it, my dad, my grandpa, my other grandpa, my mom, everyone in my family are all first responders. They're firefighters, EMTs, police officers, everything like that. So that's just that's the family that I grew up in. So I was a firefighter's daughter, firefighter's granddaughter. My mom was the EMT when I was younger. So that definitely stems from a family tradition and a family, I don't know, kind of just how I feel about my family and just being in support of them and all that they do. So thank you to our first responders, especially in today's day and age, because that is a very difficult job that I will never do. So hats off to them.
Same for me, hats up. I have all the respect, but also know that I could not do that. So I again, hats off here. So I really appreciate those insights. And I think around body positivity, we need a lot more people speaking up about it. And we've also seen a lot of online abuse happening, where social media really lends itself. Have you ever felt any of that, and how have you dealt with it, if so?
Yeah, so actually, most recently, NCAA this past weekend in regionals posted a video of this second baseman made a really nice play up the middle on a hit that I had, and I'm a slower person. I made the play really close at first base. Umpires called me out. And so I looked through the comments, which everyone tells you not to look through the comments, but I still do. So I looked through the comments, and a lot of it is just, it's body ridicule. It's, hey, I think there was one comment that was like, wonder why she didn't make it to first. Or like, if the girl in white lost 10 pounds, maybe she would have been safe. Like, it's just stuff like that. And now being where I'm at and being comfortable in my own skin, I just laugh it off. I think it's hilarious, because I'm like, at the end of the day, you have no idea what my stats look like. You have no idea who I am. It's just, yeah. So I kind of just laugh it off. I mean, when I was younger, I definitely took it more to heart. I felt like it was, something that I needed to change. There was eating disorders built in there. There were things, that weren't going the right way for me, and I kind of changed that, turned that around, and just said, hey, I am who I am, and if you I'm doing what I know I can do in this sport, and I'm hitting home runs, and I at the end of the day, I don't care what you say about me, because it's only going to make me stronger, and it's only words, and what are you doing with your life, basically? Like, who are you to be able to call me out on something when I'm playing a Division I sport? So I think that mentality definitely comes with, age and experience and understanding, like, people can be mean and you just have to laugh it off and you just have to say, look, whatever, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but it's not how I feel about myself. So.
And that's kudos to you. Absolutely. I think often, most of the time, these type of comments come from people that could not hit a ball at all.
Exactly.
Right. And it's like, yeah, you're out here hitting home runs and actually hit, that is just that type of online. So being able to say, hey, who are you? I am who I am. Again, kudos. I think that's really what we need a lot more for. Particular women seem to be, well, not just seem to, they are getting abused a lot more on social media and body positivity and or getting abused through body shaming, etc. So we need a lot more, and there's some great role models in that area, and thanks for being someone who speaks up against that and being a role model for the next generation. So that way we see people who are 14, 15 who are struggling with that, looking up to women in this field who say, look, I am who I am. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Now transitioning, you've just graduated, you finished your 5th year of NCAA. What's next on your agenda?
So I'm excited to announce that I will be continuing playing softball. So I am actually headed off to Austria this summer to play professionally out there and to experience a new country. I felt like playing overseas was the right decision for me because I think that I want to be able to travel the world, and what better way to do that than with the sport that I love, and being able to grow the sport all over the world. So I'm heading out in July to go do that for a few months, and then I'll be coming back here to Liberty to be a graduate assistant coach as well, and hopefully start my coaching career and see how far I can go with it.
That's fantastic. Congratulations on a gig to Austria. Now I've got a few follow-up questions here. Right. So bear with me. The first thing is, I've seen on the SPRTER app you're raising some funds to actually travel. Now, are you going to travel before you actually get to Austria? Are you experiencing some European summer before, or is that more for afterwards?
That's more for afterwards. Austria is going to be a full-time job, just playing, going to practices, games, all of that stuff. We have a full season ahead. So that's definitely just, Austria is going to be my summer this summer. So that's kind of my plan. Traveling in general will definitely come later and be able to hopefully do that at a young age and be able to travel around the world. The one and only place that I have always wanted to go to ever since I was a kid is Italy. So my whole goal is to just be able to take a vacation to Italy and just visit, the whole country and be able to see everything. So that's kind of like my dream spot.
Well, you're only one border away, so
I know, I'm so close.
And where in Austria are you going to be with, and which team are you going to join?
So it's out of Wiener Neustadt, and their team is called the Crazy Chicklets, which is a funny name, but I enjoy it because it's unique. So it's about 30 miles south of Vienna. Okay,
fantastic, and that's a really nice region as well. Now, I also got a follow up, as in, how did that come that, did you just get a phone call and like, hey, do you want to play for us? Or we found you online? Did you work with an agent? Did you work with a company? Or
yeah, so I worked with a company. It's called Baseball Jobs Overseas. I basically created my profile, and then that profile gets sent out to a bunch of teams. And if they're looking for players, they can reach out. I had no intention of finding a team this year. I had originally made the profile so that I could play overseas next summer. Okay. So then I got an email randomly one day from a girl that was playing on the Austrian professional team, and she reached out, so they needed a player, and we worked it out, and now I'm heading out there. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, how is your German? Are you practicing?
Yeah, I downloaded Duolingo.
Okay.
And I know how to say like hello, please, thank you, water, and like mother and father. Like, I don't know. I'm learning some things. I'm trying to get to the section where it teaches me how to ask where the bathroom is, because I think that's an important thing to know. So.
Yeah, but they all speak English really well, so
exactly.
you'll be
that's why
fine.
I'm not super worried.
You'll be very fine. Obviously, being coming back and joining a graduate assistant program, can you reveal what courses you're going to study?
So I'll be continuing my master's in secondary education. So I want to have a backup plan if coaching doesn't work out, of being able to teach as a high school teacher. I'm a big history person. I love history, so I want to be a history teacher, primarily U.S. history, U.S. government. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as my plan B if coaching does not work out. But yeah, I'll be taking classes to get the master's. So.
And that's probably certainly very aligned, education and coaching. So I'm sure that there's a lot of crossover there. And we're making an assumption that coaching works out with the growth of the sport and the background as well. So Grandma is going to be certainly already probably very proud, but sure she's got some insights there as well. So I want to be cognizant of your time. I really appreciate you joining us today at the podcast and providing awesome insights on the sport, your career, and also providing some insights for our listeners here to, well, how to deal with certain instances. And really appreciate your time. I wish you all the best in the future. Again, for all of our listeners, make sure to check out Lou's experience store on the SPRTER app. Follow her on all of the socials. We'll link you out on the podcast here as well as on YouTube as well. And all the best with the career. We're excited to follow along how it's going, and good luck with raising some funds for those travels.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a great
rest of your day.
Thank you, you as well. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.